Blade Talk with Scab and Joe.
The American experiment requires us all to push the boundaries.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Sit back, relax. We got a pretty good show here. Please don't forget our U.S. veterans. Growing awareness for veteran suicide. Hashtag 22 a day no more. Veterans, you always have a place here. There is a number in the description of all of my videos for some good folk that can help you if you are in despair. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. My name is Joe from JS Bladecraft, and obviously we have Scab from Quiet Boys Outdoors. And tonight, our guest, if I can speak, that'll be great. Our guest is Jacob from Very Good Knife Company. I believe it's not a Very Good Knife Company, it's Very Good Knife Company, right? Jacob, yeah, okay. It's Very Good Knife Company. So we're excited to have him in. He's been causing a little bit of a stir with his knives, and people are liking his stuff. So we got to get, we're all about basically trying to get as many American knife companies on Blade Talk as possible. And our favorite are these private guys. The big companies are awesome. We love our big companies, but it's nice to get these private, American knife makers, because they are the future. Their designs and their ideas are pretty much shaping where the knife community is going. So it's always a pleasure to have those fellas into Blade Talk. But before we go any further and let everybody into the room, as you guys know, on my channel, on Blade Talk, on Scab's channel, awareness for veteran suicide, hashtag 22 a day no more. Anything over zero is too much. What we're simply saying is, on Blade Talk, veterans, you are welcome here. Relax, have a good time, forget your worries, but there are always numbers for help if you need it. But please relax with us, enjoy, and you are always welcome here. So beyond that, guys, let's open up Blade Talk. Let's open up some knife talk, and let's get the boys into the room. Welcome, Scab, and welcome, Jacob.
Well, he welcomed us and he dipped out.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'm back. I got a little too button friendly. What's going on, boys?
Jacob, how are you?
Hold on, Jacob. My bad. Hold on. You're muted. Now go ahead. Jacob, how are you?
I'm hanging in there.
That's what we like to do to you. Put a little pressure on you right off the rip, turn your shit off. Hey, I've done 3 knives of yours, right?
My audio is doing
one now.
There it is. It cleared. All right, say that again, Scab.
I said I have done, I think, 3 knives of yours. The first one Timbo sent me, it was the Mustang.
Right.
That was my introduction. And then the last Huntsman, and then the Snook, which I carry this every day. I really do. Bro, tell me how you got started, right? And then one thing I don't ask a lot, or we don't ask a lot, and I was curious, tell me, do you have limits on how big you will go with a knife?
Well, to clear the size of the knife right off the bat is all limited to my kiln. 12 and a half inches, 13 inches is maximum size for my kiln. Now, I'm trying to change that, obviously. Of course, that's the goal, is to work up, to be able to expand to do other things. But my kiln is just too short to do anything bigger. So, but I got started making knives in 2009. My dad was a big-time case collector. We used to do a whole bunch of gun shows. So I grew up in knives, really deep-rooted in knives. And he was a stonemason for about 35 years. And when the economy hit in 2008, 2009, he started selling off all his case collection and had an entire room of just case knives. So we started doing gun shows and selling off case knives like crazy. And anyhow, during that time, there still wasn't a whole bunch of people making knives. And once we started to run out of knives to sell, seeing other people making knives, and it was something we wanted to do. We started doing like kits and other people's blades and like the Pakistani stuff. And we did that for a little while, and until somebody at a gun show was like, "You're not a knife maker, you're a knife assembler." And so we just kind of, nope, no more of that. We're going to go full steam and do everything in house. So we started making knives full time in 2010. By 2011, it was an established business, and it's just been a big ride from there.
Now, where are you at in Georgia?
Cleveland, up by Helen,
Okay.
up far northeast corner.
I grew up in Hazelhurst, which is
Yeah, I got you. I know where
south.
Hazelhurst is.
But my mom and dad, actually, my dad was a pastor in Ackworth for a long time, for quite a few years. So and I'm a monster Georgia fan. So I'm a Georgia guy at heart. Tell me this, and I wanted to ask you because we don't ask that a lot. You know, your kiln size. Now, when you got into making knives, right? When you, and is your dad still with us? Is he still with you?
Yeah.
Good.
No,
Good.
I split off from him in 2022. And he's still making knives, but I don't work with him. We just kind of working with family's tough. That's working with family's tough.
No, you don't have to tell me that. I'm in that same boat. I know how that is.
Yeah, a lot of times it'll save your relationship not to work with.
Yes.
So I want to touch base now, Joe. You haven't reviewed any very good knives, have you? Okay.
I want to know why it's a very good knife company.
Well, yeah. Tell us about the name.
Yes.
Well, the name, if you ever seen the show Parks and Rec, I can't beat around the bush too much because those that know, they just know. But it didn't come from there. It did not come from Parks and Rec.
Gotcha.
But basically, it's just a statement of there's no other way to put it other than it's refined good work. And I didn't want to be too straightforward or arrogant with things. But in truth, there's just no other way to go about it. Me and Joe were just talking about the whole naming things. If you go too fruity or too frilly or too tough or whatever, then you got something different to live up to. And, you know, I've made so many knives now that when you go to describe your knives to anyone, if you just don't have one in hand, what would you say to anyone that you're trying to describe your knives to after having done it full time for 12, 13 years?
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of where Very Good came from. And I knew right off the bat that it was going to be a struggle. I knew there was going to be a lot of controversy. I get crapped on sometimes in the beginning stages, like a year and a half ago. If anybody saw a Very Good knife coat, the first thing you're thinking is some knockoff Taiwanese, Chinese, something generic.
Right.
But, you know, the thing is, my business model is good work at an affordable price with good customer service, a good backing, you know, and everything for me done in house. It reduces my costs, and it also ensures that I get to see everything that happens with every one of the knives.
Well, that's an important factor too. Sorry, Skip, because we usually go into this later on in the show, as far as like, you know, producing in America. Obviously, you know, American labor, American materials, everything is more expensive, yada yada yada. So I know you had said one point is just trying to do everything yourself. So like, what do you try to do? What is in your practice in terms of maybe materials or how you approach making the knives or whatever? Is there anything that you try to approach in your practice to try to keep the price at a reasonable rate so everybody could get into your knives?
Time is the biggest thing with knives. Time is number one. If you can't make knives fast, then you can't sell knives for nothing. And that also goes with selling too. Is if you have to sit on them for 3-4 months, then you're not making any money.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is turnaround. My margins are extremely razor thin, but you know, with the right exposure, in a weekend, everything's gone. Everything that I make now, I can't keep up. Everything is gone. I made a drop on Friday with a couple of with the Ramblers and a couple of specials, and they're gone. Everything's gone. Everything I'm going to drop on Friday, and I hope and pray that everything's gone. And I really appreciate all my supporters. I just want to shout out to them. But for me, the biggest thing is time. You know, you have to make sure not to spend too much time on things. Now, the biggest controversy there for a lot of knife makers today is that they can't seem to understand how my concept of time and how I'm able to get so many things done. And the truth is, I'm out there in the shop from sun up to sundown every day, period. That's my job. You know, it's really hard to convince sometimes some people that you make knives full time, because in this world, everyone's working for someone.
Yeah.
Everyone's working for someone. So, and if you're working for yourself, you're doing lawn care or construction or house cleaning or pressure washing or something, you know. But for me, it's knives. And
well, that's a choice. That's a choice.
It is.
That's a choice that you made. A choice that you made is that you are going to basically put all of your energy, your heart and soul into making knives and selling knives. So that means that basically, yeah, you're going to spend all your time doing that. And you know what? People like you are successful because you're not like, you know what? I really love making knives, but I'm going to, you know, I have my 9 to 5. I can do it like when I get home from work. I have the weekends. That's never really going to get,
it doesn't work.
Get you anyway. You either, it's hard to be 1 foot into the door either way, you know, but that's cool that you're doing it that way.
Yeah. If you're going to be a professional, you got to dive in, period. Yeah. You're in the shop all the time. There's no after work. No, this is work now. This is work now. But the thing for very good is making sure to keep the quality along with the time and being able to turn them around, but still at a good quality. The key for me, the reason why I'm excelling is that it's so refined. My practice is so refined, and I've done it so many times over the years. I mean, it's been my job it's been my job since 2010, and that's all I've done. I've done work. I've worked for Premium Knife Supply when Doug Metzger owned it. I was grinding their original American-made 01 tool steel blades. I did in the neighborhood of 5,000 or 6,000 blades for them, and I was grinding and heat treating them, and that was my job on top of making knives for our company too. But that became a side gig. Was just me kind of stepping back from that and doing something else that was making a whole bunch of money.
Right.
But in truth, the experience and the practice that I got from it was far more valuable than any amount of dollars.
Yeah. How many knives, Jacob, can you turn in a batch? How many, like when you do a drop, how many do you typically?
It depends on what I have going on, but for me, 20 to 25 knives a week I don't know that there's many other knife makers on planet Earth can make that many, but I know several that can make that many a week and at a good quality. The key is finding, like I said, how good can you make it at the fastest you can go. And you have to find that happy medium with it can get better, but I'm going to upcharge for time, and it can get worse. I can go faster, you know, finding that happy medium. And once you have a refined practice, it just becomes figuring out where you want to be with your price. And when you're doing everything in house, I don't really have any overhead. It's all just paying me and paying the shop and paying off new equipment until I'm big enough to hire somebody out, and then everything's paid for by that point.
Yeah. Now, do you have any employees with you now?
Nope. So my wife helps me. But for the most part, I'm trying to delete processes that I need the extra help for right now. And
Is
one
your
of those
wife
big
QC?
things
Is your wife your QC?
is my wife, my QC. She is
Quality control?
quality control. No, I'm quality control. She's kind of, she'll hate me for saying it.
Like, will she take up the
She's
knife and say,
four-eyed and
you
she
know what,
has
Jacob,
no
this has got to go
eye
back. I don't
concentration.
like this one. Do this over again. Not sharp enough.
She's pretty picky though. She is pretty picky. She likes the Mustangs too. This is
Mustang
hers.
was a great knife. I really like that knife.
Yeah, it's a nice one. It is a really
It's a
nice
lot.
one.
If I had to give you a rude opinion without knowing anything about the knife, and from what I've seen Scab review and what you hold out right now and the pictures you sent me, there's a simplistic beauty to them. There's a simplistic nature to them that basically they're not high frills, but they're made well. The fit and finish looks good, and they work. I mean, it's I best way I can describe it at this point.
Yeah,
They're
they're
capable.
good working knives, and it took me a long time to get to the level that I'm at with just being able to fly through them and still make them really, really, really nice compared to the rest of the market. In truth, the market is in shambles with pricing and the custom market. You know, since Forged in Fire came out, everyone's making knives now, and I feel like there's a whole bunch of people that just haven't really gone through the rite of passage to really learn. The thing is, you can make a really nice knife until you've made that same knife 5,000 times. You can't call it perfected. You can't call it a refined design, you know. So just because you do it 2 or 3 different times, or even 10 different times, it's not enough. You gotta fail a whole bunch. You really do.
Yep. I like what you said, rite of passage, because that's a powerful statement. Because not to say the businesses are the same, but like when I got into my line of work, which is pretty much like shooting events, photography, videography, all that stuff, production work, there weren't that many people doing it. And then when people realized, oh, you know what, I can make money with this.
Exactly.
And people started going, oh, I could do this on the side. I'll get this camera. I'll pick this up. But they didn't have that ability, that rite of passage to say, yeah, you are, people are calling themselves photographers or videographers when they don't really have that experience to get into it. They just want to make the money. And I can see what you're saying. A lot of people probably are drilling the knife market right now because they see, oh, there's a knife market right there. People, I can, get a forge. I can get this. I can get some belts. I can make me some knives and make some money. And I can
absolutely.
I can see where you're coming from. That's a pretty powerful statement.
It is. Yeah. The thing is, like, when I was a kid, I spent a whole bunch of time doing gun shows, and we have a local knife maker. His name's Bubba, Warren Glover, Bubba Knives, and he's been making knives for 40, 50 years now, maybe longer. He's got to be in his upper 80s now. But anyhow, I grew up around him. And if, when I was a kid 20 years ago, 25 years ago, if your knives didn't look somewhat close to mine in terms of cleanliness and just, they're finished, then you're getting scoffed at. You're getting laughed out of the blade show. You're not worthy of even being there. Because in truth, with all the amount of how hard it is to just get a table at Blade Show, for the guys that worked so hard without social media, without any of this new technology that we have of being able to expose yourself to millions of people at a time. These guys worked their asses off to get where they were, to get into Blade Show and get into Blade magazine. So if you showed up with crap, then you didn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to shit on a whole bunch of other makers, but in truth, you walk around Blade Show and there's a bunch of crap there. There just is. And they're charging $400 or $500 for something that's way unfinished. It's just not finished. And I've done video after video, and I try and expose and just show, look how easy it is to take it 20 seconds more on the belt grinder. And here's the thing. If you can't do that, if it's a skill issue, why are you calling yourself a professional? Why are you calling yourself a professional? So I think for me, it's a matter of self-respect. If I say I've been making knives for 20 years, they better be damn nice knives. They better be. Or what have you learned? Because if you're 20 years into this and you're still making stuff that's crooked, your grind lines aren't even, they're not straight, the handles aren't finished, you got 80 grit scratches everywhere, and you're selling them for $400, how are you justifying that? How can you justify that?
Well, the problem is people buy it.
That's another. You're exactly right, and people buy it, but it's for the and here's where it starts going wrong for me. When long time makers with a very deep understanding of how things work, and they understand how fast you can make a knife and how good you can make a knife really fast for nothing. They understand the cost. They understand everything. Not everyone out there walking around at Blade Show does. In fact, 90% of the people have no idea. So if they don't know, then what's the harm in buffing it up a little bit, beefing it up? Oh, I did this special process and I did this special process. And that's the thing, the whole new steel controversy. I don't even want to get into that, but I guess you can't avoid it nowadays. But the thing is, everything's been done now. Everything's been done. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what you do. It's all been done. So it's not special. It is if you put your heart and soul into it. But when I pick something up that's unfinished, I don't feel your heart and soul into nothing. Because to me, knowing what it takes to take it just one step further to finish it, it's just laziness. It's laziness. And instead of cleaning it up and bettering yourself, they'll continue selling them off at the price they're selling because people are buying them. And you can't hate on them for that. But the thing is, eventually it'll control the market, and then it'll be flooded with knives that are pretty much machine made and being sold as custom for $700-800 mono steel knives. It's just, I can't see it.
Well, the problem is, it's not a problem. What'll happen is people can build a presence with social media, and they can get absolutely murdered with social media.
Yep.
And all it's going to take, Jacob, is somebody who is a pretender putting a knife in the wrong person's hands on social media.
Yep.
And it's over. But by the same token, some of the older guys, some of the really good guys have to be careful too. That one thing I've learned in this game as we've gone is it's not a game. And in the knife reviewer thing, I started out one way because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't give a shit. And in all fairness, I've had to learn how to navigate because I don't want to end that. That's why you don't hear me bashing people, because I don't want to end a career because I'm a working person, right?
Right.
But it can go either way. And I think what will happen, and I think we're seeing it happen, is some of the pretenders, one, they get tired of it. Like you've talked about several times, starting in 2010, 14 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time to commit yourself. It really is.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't 30 years ago, but what you're going to see is this is a fad, and that fad will die.
Exactly.
And once people aren't becoming millionaires and having 10 million followers or not on Forged in Fire, they give it up. You're already seeing it. We're already seeing a couple companies going out, going under.
Yep.
They can't sustain. And so I think it'll even itself out. I think for guys like you who do a phenomenal job, ride the wave, get what you can, and then understand here. Probably if I was a betting man, I'd say 6 months to a year, because right now we're kind of in that golden age.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're going to see is a true golden age where the true cream rises and everything stables out. So make it while you can. Let's talk about, I wanted to talk about how you take on a project, because I find that fascinating. Like with The Last Huntsman, say that idea. I'm sure you have people approach you all the time with the next greatest idea. How do you weed through that and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do?
It's really not that common, to be honest. Every now and then I'll get somebody. It just depends on the timing. I had Reese with well regulated. He asked me if I wanted to do some of his blades that he's got. It's a good looking design, but he was asking me if I was set up to do fullers, and I don't have a mill right now, so I'm not set up to do fullers. I can hand grind them, but I just can't keep up with it in terms of time. I like fullers, but if I could do it faster, then I would have a model right now with fullers in it. It's just not something that's doable for me right now. And, but then like Gabe's knife from Last Huntsman, right? He had made a short with that, his drawing of that knife. And I saw it and I thought, that's pretty cool looking. And then months later, he had it made by Bear Forest. And I saw everybody's review on it. It's a good looking knife, good looking design. And he was posting it like every day, looking for somebody, begging for somebody to produce it. And can't blame him. For an enthusiast, that's the cream right there, is finding somebody that'll put your design into real life play. And I just he's had a couple of mine prior to me hitting him up about it, and I was like, hey, I'll, if you're down, send it to me. So he sent it to me, and for me it was a matter of, will it fit on the biggest piece of steel that I've got right here? Will it fit on this that I'm already buying? And I pulled it out of the sheath and it fit right on it. And I was like, all right, we're go. So I just went from there straight on it. I basically pulled the blade pretty close to identical, because that's pretty close to what he wanted anyway. And then just refined it from there. No shade on Bear Forest, but it just needed a little refining. And as for a prototype, it was a great knife. The Bear Forest version I really liked it. But right off the bat, like the first thing I didn't like about it was the round handles. And now that you've seen multiple of my knives, I just don't contour handles. I like them chamfered round on the edges, and that's it. To me, a flat handled knife doesn't twist in your hands, and round handles do. And I've done a whole bunch of using, and you just learn what doesn't work.
Yeah. Learn what's novelty and what's not.
Yeah. So
you don't get hit up a lot. I would think that you would, because you do good quality. And I know but here's the thing that I see and Joe sees, and we see probably more than you see. There's a bunch of guys out there who want to design a knife, right? Or they've got a good idea for a knife.
Yep. And
they just need an opening or an end. And so I'm kind of shocked that people don't come to you more, but I absolutely love my Snook. I really do. It's someone I carry all the time. It's clean and it's functional and it does what I need. Size wise, it's reminiscent of the Mustang, but I love them both. They're two total, one's clip, one's drop.
Yep.
But now, are you doing all of Tim's designs?
Yeah. Right now, I've got another one right here that
Let's see it.
I saved it to show on the live here, but this is the new one, and this is called.
Let me bring you full screen, and then you could talk about it. Hold on. All right, here we go.
This is called the Bonefish, and I kind of waited to decide if I was going to show it or not.
There's a restaurant near me called the Bonefish.
Teasing it. I've been kind of teasing it because it's Tim's, and I want him to do the big reveal on it. But anyhow, this is the Bonefish. It's
Warncliffe
Mustang size, and it is a super deep, thin, hollow grind that comes way up the cheek. It's a sway back.
Yeah.
Sway back. This is a beautiful knife. I really like sway back, and it's got a super slim sheath. Yeah, it's nice. And then the Blackwater logo on the sheath there.
There you go.
Oh.
Yep.
Now, what's the blade stock on that, Jacob?
It's 5/32, same as the Mustang.
Okay.
5 30 seconds. The key with this one is it's super deep hollow ground, even way taller than like a Mustang. So it acts like a thinner knife, but it's a thicker knife. It's a little beefy. I like them beefy.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. I love that. Golly.
Yeah, it's nice.
I'm glad you said hollow ground in case he wants me to review one. I've had bad luck with hollow ground, but as long as I know, that's beautiful, man.
It is. It's
Oh,
a beauty.
good.
Thank you.
What's the over?
Yeah, I like how that
what's the handle length?
Um,
Do you know? I hate putting you on
it
the
would be.
spot with it.
It would have to be 4¼ inches.
So it's
4.25,
solid
I
for it.
would say. Four.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Solid 4 inches. It's pretty long. I don't have big hands, but it'll hang out and back on my hands.
That'd
A
probably
good
be about
bit.
the same on mine. That's a good looking knife.
It's
Yeah,
a
I like how you
good-looking
approach
knife.
this one. This is nice.
Yeah, it's
I'm a sucker
really
for a
good-looking
thick
knife.
spine, man. That's nice.
Yeah. Tim spent a whole bunch of time trying to get this one right, and it takes a collaboration of
Yeah.
knife maker and knife designer to, I talked him through some things about designing and kind of things that work and don't work, and has guided him on his way. He started with a snook, and she went and got me a ruler. How nice.
Well, there's a difference between a guy who designs knives and a knife designer.
Look
You
at
know,
that. I said 4¼ inches, and it's 4¼ inches.
there you go.
It's a good guess.
That's money.
And
Do me a
then,
favor. Do me a favor. Pull that inner grip. It's going to be the same from the top of the choil down. See, what's the measurement
That
there?
measure the inner grip, yeah.
Yeah. I'm betting it's the same or close.
yeah, it's about an 1/8 inch shorter because of that bird's beak right there. It's not really a bird's beak, but
But now,
the end of the handle, yeah, it's about 4 1/2. That's just over 4 inches. It's a solid 4 inches.
and that'll fit the vast majority. But I like the way that you do. Now, what is this? This isn't a pommel, but like here on your knives, I've noticed.
They're pretty much all the same.
Yeah, but I can
Yeah.
see. I can take if I need to.
That's
Right
just
here.
years of knowing what works and what doesn't. And
And
once I found a handle end that works, then I stuck with it.
Yeah, I like that because I can wrap that finger if I need to choke back.
Yep.
I like that because I can come up like that with a pinch grip. I like that. So I like the handle. I'm really, really digging. And I like the way that you use the basic platform for your handle. Too many times I see guys that they want to reinvent the kitchen sink every damn time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can't stand that.
I've been there.
Well,
You
some
go
of
through
it-
that as a maker.
Yeah,
Sure.
some of it's trial and error.
Yep.
But Joe, get me off here, man. My eyes floating back. But some of it is trial and error. But that don't mean you sell the shit. I like yours because I've got that platform. I know what to expect, even just off 3 knives, even with Gabe's knife, which you did an amazing job. I know what to expect. And I talk about that a lot. If you're like Scab, I'm going to see this knife, check it out, send it back. I know what I'm getting. That consistency, and I think consistency goes back to what you've been saying this whole show, time in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Consistency, I think, for people means more. I can't say for, I can say for me, consistency means more for me than price, than steel, than materials. If you are consistently good, I'm
In
good.
the ass, Matt has a question. I don't know if he's being smart.
He's being
I
smart.
guess if you were to actually be serious about it, though, if you're not collecting a paycheck from designing knives, then you're not a knife designer.
Well,
Fair.
Matt knows I love his knife design.
By the way, guys, I didn't welcome everybody into the room. If you guys have any questions for Jacob or anything like that, just like scroll them onto the chat. If I didn't get to it, I'll put them on again and then we'll put it in. But yeah, guys.
Well, there's a third category, Matty, guys who don't want to design knives, and I'm in that one. I think the difference is someone who gets paid to design a knife and uses some sort of formula to do it.
Yep.
But that's not knocking, and that goes back to Tim. That's not knocking Tim. Like you said, it's a collaboration.
Yep.
And when you have that joint collaboration, I think then, because I've known guys on both sides of the fence where there's no give. And
Right.
usually it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. When
Right.
there's no communication, there's no give, there's just digging your heels in.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I understand
So
that.
thank you, Maddie.
Yep. It's important to have Gabe said, I think it helps to have an actual user and someone who know the purpose for the
purpose for the
design.
design.
Yeah, it does help a lot. It really does. You can't give someone a project for a kitchen knife if they've never used a kitchen knife and expect them to give you a kitchen knife that works like the best kitchen knife ever.
Yeah.
Just for simple fact of you can't just know by looking at all these famous kitchen knives on the internet and go patterning off of that. You can't just know what works and what doesn't without experience. You really can't. You just have to understand. For me, you like you said, the consistency. I know what I want in a knife. I know what I want in a knife, and a testament to my own stuff is I carry my own stuff every day, all day, every day. I haven't carried anybody else's knives since I started making knives, because as an early stage maker, that's what you do is you carry your stuff and use it and you play with it.
Yeah.
But I see a whole bunch of these new age knife makers now, and they carry other people's stuff every day. Well, tell me, what are you doing to test your stuff? Because I've got knives. I got 60 knives sitting here on my table, just in case I have to reach for one. But at any given point, I can show you one of these knives has absolutely just been beat to death, and that's, I mean, it's just that way. You beat them to death. You beat them until they're no more, and then you resharpen them until you've sharpened an 1/8 inch off of the blade. That's testing your knife, and that's not to say that testing the functionality of it isn't testing a knife. That's just a different kind of thing. To really develop something that is nearly flawless, for me, it's got to have years of trial and error and understanding what it does 5 years down the road, not 5 minutes down the road or 5 days down the road.
I have a question for you, but just real quick, you had mentioned what you like. So what are your, and it doesn't have to be a long thing. What is your main preferences in a knife for yourself as a maker? Like, what is the most important thing for you when you approach a knife project? It's got to have A, B, and C, or it's not a knife I want to make, or it's got to have these factors in order to be basically the knife that I would like to basically come out of my shop.
I like simple. If it doesn't speak for itself already, I like simple, because simple is easy to consistently get right every time. The more you try and complicate things, the more you have issues with consistency and quality control. So if it's got a really difficult grind, or if it's just a difficult knife in general to make, then I don't want to make it. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to make 5 of them wrong out of a batch of 20 because they're a damn pain in the ass.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And for me, if it's going to come out of my shop, it can't be too complicated. If you bring me a design and you want this, and this, if it's got a super complicated handle, I'm going to simplify the handle and ask you if you like it and make sure before, because I'm just, time, again, going back to that time thing, the more changes in elevation and direction and all this crap you have on your knife, the longer it's going to take me to go over all that. Longer, cleaner, smoother lines get done faster. They just do, and they're easier to make look better. And people, this day and age, what's funny to me is, like I was going back earlier talking about when I was a kid, if you didn't have knives of somewhat close to this quality, then you were getting laughed out. Well, then everyone started to get to that quality and started doing all the special new creative new age stuff and changing the standards of, over time everything changes eventually. But I guess when you start changing things too much, then people start looking at simple like it's special. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now my knives are standing out because nobody's making them simple anymore, because people already made them simple and they started doing other stuff. Well, now everybody's doing the other stuff and simple knives got forgotten about. They're just long in the past. So I start making simple knives again and people love them. They love them. You can't go wrong with simple. I just think that's the hard, honest truth.
Well, it
Well,
depends on what kind of knife owner you are. I mean, if you
Agreed.
want basically to buy a knife just to show off with, or if you want a knife that basically like Scab. I mean, Scab uses his knives every day. He wants to know that his fixed blade that he has in his pocket is going to, every time he pulls out his pocket, if it's going to work for him, if it's going to, last through the day and last through the week. I mean, there's different types of knife owners out there.
Yep.
Yep,
absolutely, for sure.
Well, there's different everything. I don't do long-term reviews. Jacob Peterson does. Some of the guys do. I don't do them because of my mentality. I'll probably never do. My goal with this channel is to show somebody how good a knife works out of the box. It's the goal. Joe's goal is to give you a great look at the knife. So there's a lot, and there's certain makers, you have a niche that you do well. William Collins has a niche that he does well.
Right.
And he's a guy who carries his own stuff, uses his own stuff. So I see some similarities in you guys personality wise, not stylistically,
yeah.
but guys who've had a lot of time in. And it matters.
It really
It
does.
really matters. And you got to understand I see guys in all facets of this who uses a knife and who doesn't. I don't give a shit if anybody ever cuts anything on camera.
Right.
You can tell if they know by what they say, how they hold it, etc. I did things a little differently. I based my whole YouTube thing on use and function, right? Now I'm having to catch up on the back end with knife acumen and terms, but I know how the knife works and I know how to use it. Do me a favor. You got a bunch of knives by you, right?
Yep.
You got one of your big ones? Let's see that. All right, bigger model you make.
This is the well.
Is
the
this the
Huntsman is
missus?
the biggest
Is this
one.
your wife?
It is. Yep.
Mrs. VGKC. Okay, there you go. All right.
Yeah, this is the biggest one that I make aside from the Huntsman,
Okay.
and this is the First Strike. This is a big old clip point, double guard, full
That's
tang.
cool. Now, if somebody wants one, Jacob, do you do them in drops or can they order one? How do you do that?
Like I was saying earlier about the whole how many knives a week, it all just depends
Right.
on who's contacting me throughout the weekend. For the most part, I get orders just about every day.
I'm sure.
And I can't turn them down. I just can't. So I try and fit my other stuff in around them, as opposed to the other way around. Because in truth, if I have 20 orders this week, I'm not going to put off 20 paid orders, and I don't take payment until after the knives is done. So I need to get them done. And but I have people message me, and I will tell them, shoot me an email with what steel you want, and I do 2 steels just to make it simple. ADC RV2 and Nitro V. So I got a carbon steel and a stainless steel. Hit me up with a steel, a model, and a handle color, and tell me go. And I'll message you back, and a week and a half. Just depends on how long, what all I got going on.
So I guess what I'm asking, if Joe wanted a huntsman and I wanted the first strike, and we hit you up at the same day, say we're customers, we hit you up, is that something you can do? You don't run things in drops. I guess that's so you wouldn't
I
run
do run things in
25.
drops.
Do you? Okay.
I do run things in drops, but if the drops are smaller, it's because I had a whole bunch of orders. If the drops are bigger, then I don't have any orders. For the most part, if I'm going to drop anything, I like to have at least just one of each color that I offer, which is 6: nut green, black, blue, red, purple.
But it sounds like to me like you're kind of making to order, though.
I try not to. Like I said, if I can get away with it, I'd just rather do a whole bunch of drops because
Right.
you know
that was the question.
Like I said, I can't turn them down for sure. I
Right.
can't turn them down. Now the Huntsman, I have turned down several people on the Huntsman, mainly because they take up so much time. If I'm dedicating time to one, I have to dedicate time to multiple because it's too much knife. But
Now,
the first
you have
strike
one
and
there?
everything. No, I don't have a Huntsman.
I was going to get you to hold it up to the first strike. Let's see the first strike again because I really like that.
Yep, this is a
damn good looking knife.
That is a good looking knife. Yeah.
That's a really good looking.
Let me see that spine again. Yeah, that seems like that's you like the big stock. I mean,
do.
I like it too. I love a big stock. I do, and I like how
I only like big stock. I only like big stock if it's done the way I do them.
Uh-huh.
I really don't like thin stock knives because I just don't trust them. It's not about heat treat and this and that. I want something that if I really have to just get aggressive with it, then I can. And that's my everyday carry is my adventure. And it's 3/16 stock, same stock as that big giant 11-inch knife. Thing is, though, is I fully taper it distally and almost all the way to the spine. I leave a little bit of cheek, and then I grind it way down super thin, and that way it acts like a thinner knife. It cuts like a thinner knife, but she's thick.
But you got
Can we talk about your choice with steels? Like what steels you like to work with, what handle materials you like to work with, what's your steel of choice, and briefly why?
Well, I have done just about every simple steel that there is on planet Earth. I've really only worked with one of the super steels. I just haven't had my hands in them. I've used them. I would rather do simple steels because they are easier to get right more consistently. And like ADC RV2, I do ADC RV2, and people love my ADC RV2 because I've done over 10,000 knives with ADC RV2. It's that simple.
You have it in your back pocket. That's important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have the recipe down so good. I haven't changed the settings on my kiln for 10 years. I don't need to. It just works. Once you figure out something that works, why change it? Now, after the kiln, the whole tempering process, that was a little bit of finagling to find the magic number. But again, goes back to practice. If you're jumping around on steels every week, then what did you learn about any of them? You can't just do it. You can't do one bar stock of steel, 6 knives, or 4 knives, how many ever everybody's getting out of their billets of steel. You can't just do one and say you've tested the steel and figured out the steel and mastered the steel. I've got up at the old Two Jakes shop, there's a truck bed liner sitting outside the shop that has got blades in it, and it is full to the top with all kinds of junk steel and cut blades that just didn't work out. There's a whole bunch of ADC RV2 in there and a whole bunch of 52-100 and 01, D2. There's all kinds of different steel in there, and they're all junk and trashed because they are cracked or warped or just pitted or they were done wrong. And it takes a bucket full of stuff. It takes a whole bunch of wrongs for you to figure out what not to do. It's easier to learn by what to do for some people, and but again, go back to that rite of passage thing. If you don't know what to do when something goes wrong, then you haven't figured it out. If you don't know how to fix things or when to call it quits on things with a certain steel, then you haven't figured it out. If you don't know the limits of a steel on both ends, the lower limits and the higher limits, then you haven't tested a steel. You just haven't done enough of it. You can't get that with one billet of steel and then moving on to something else. I don't care what anybody says.
How about you handle? Go ahead, Skip. I'm sorry.
Still got me on the big screen.
Engraving? Do you do your own engraving, Jacob?
So I just recently got a laser engraver. I'm proud of it.
Cool.
I've been doing electrochemical for a long time now. Well, since the start of Very Good. I did a little bit before, and I kind of just didn't care for it. It's just we've always used stamps to Jake's shop. We've stamped everything, and our biggest thing was people not being able to just grind it off and then restamp it or etch it with something and call it their own. And you can't grind a stamp that's an 1/8 inch deep out. You just can't do it. Just go get a different knife. But I just, stamps are, sometimes they can weaken steel. And when I strike a knife with a stamp, it always warps. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I do it with a press, if I do it with a hammer. It doesn't really matter. And I don't like having to go through the extra process of trying to re-straighten them and then resurface grind and all that crap. So I started doing electrochemical, and it's even more of a pain in the neck, but at least it's a little more consistent and a little less invasive to the structure of the steel. For stamping, you can screw one up if you don't know what you're doing with it, especially cold stamping. But the cream of the crop has always been laser, and I just haven't been able to afford one until recently. And the Huntsman bought Very Good Knife Company a laser.
Well, that's kick-ass, man. Listen, let me ask you this.
Still got me on the big screen.
Do you have to take, when you're doing, say you're doing a snook, a custom order or something like that, do you find yourself, I'm trying to figure out how to word it, because I know time is money and all that, especially with what you're doing and how you want to do it. Do you have a set time in your head where you go, I've been on this damn thing too long? Or have you just done it so repetitively at this point?
Very rarely do I get into something like that. If I do, a lot of times I'll just toss it aside, and I'll so like my wife's Mustang, for example, I had, this one's actually shorter than a regular Mustang by a 1/2 inch because I was sitting there talking to my buddy in the shop while I was heat treating and not paying attention. And sometimes when you'll quench, they'll warp just slightly, and you got about 20-30 seconds before they cool after you pull them out of the oil to straighten it out. Once it cools, if you can straighten it out with a clamp in the first tempering, then maybe. But anyhow, it cooled too much, and I picked it up and looked at it, and I was like, oop, I spent too long, let it get too cold, and I tried to straighten it out, snap the tip off. Well, I was like, man, maybe I'll shorten it down and sell it as a custom. But things like that, if I make a big enough mistake where it's going to cost me more time, it's easier to move along. It's easier to move along. And I don't make a whole lot of mistakes. The urgency for not making mistakes is there. I just can't waste money, and I can't waste time. I have to be able to do it right. And that, I developed that a long time ago when I was working for a premium, doing their blades, grinding their blades. I don't have time to sit here and mess around. I got a table full of 600 blades, and I need to get them done. I don't have time to sit here and mess around. It's time to get it right.
Jacob, if you can, let people know in the room, if people want to deal with your, if they want to hire you for your services, right? Do you take custom work? I mean, do you want to be into that focus of taking custom work, or would you rather deal with your stock stuff that you have on the table?
So to me, this is custom. I did this sheath and this knife. This is Damascus. I made this Damascus here at Two Jakes, and it's got a walrus cheekbone, mammoth tooth, and choyo cactus inlaid with turquoise. This knife was made in like 2019 or 2018. To me, that's custom, and that's a hard no for me. I've done everything from Two Jakes. Every single thing from Two Jakes was a one-off, and that was our philosophy: no two alike. And once you've done that, to me, so if you go back and look on the Very Good page or on the website, you'll see a little bit of backstory on the Bloodline knives, and that was my last venture. And I wanted to just do something repetitive because, you know, after having dabbled in the production industry with Premium Knife Supply, I was like, man, I'd rather just sit here and do this all day. Now, I've made thousands upon thousands of custom knives like that, and I'm good at it, and they bring a lot of money. But the thing is, it doesn't fit my philosophy for Very Good Knife Company. For my dad, he just kind of turned into chasing money too much and what was the next most expensive knife. And I can't sleep at night trying to find somebody's extra $1,000 in their back pocket. For me, what happens is you end up forgetting where you came from, and all of a sudden, none of your friends from your hometown, none of your good real people that you would call a brother, they can't afford your knives. If you can't make a knife for your friend for nothing, what kind of friend are you? What kind of maker are you? I feel like I should be able to eventually hone my skills enough to use it for something more than just making money. And that was my biggest thing with Very Good is just, I don't even care if I make anything. I have to make enough to keep it sustaining and pay me. I have to, or else it's just a lost cause. And we're doing good. I think we will definitely grow at this rate. I don't have any doubts about that. The thing is I have the quality, and I know that I can make good knives. It's not a question. I don't need anybody to tell me that I do make a good knife, although I very much appreciate it. But my confidence and my drive is just giving something to people that they can be proud of. I don't want people to have something in their safe for 20 years and never show it to anybody. I want, Rick down the street, my trash guy, the garbage guy that works for the city. I want him to have a knife that he carries with him every single day, and uses it every day. I don't care if I made any money off of him. Who cares? Doesn't matter. I'm not here to make $1 million, and neither is anybody else. I'll tell you, if you try and chase the money in the knife industry, you're going to find out real quick that it don't work like that. And the only way that you can make a whole bunch of money off your customs is if you have worked yourself into a master degree from ABS and you're making stuff that is worthy of the money that you're asking for it. When your quality isn't there, it's not really justifiable. But, for me, the custom is just, there's not really a middle class in America anymore. There's rich and there's poor people. And it just seems to divide farther and farther. And I'm not sticking with the rich. I'm sticking with my people.
Okay, great. Well said. Well said.
Joe, pull up that Revelation again.
The Revelation. Let me
That's
see.
about as far custom
like
as I
one.
want to go.
I was looking at that one. I like that one. Revelation.
That Revelation's dope, man. Pull that up.
Yeah.
I like the Revelation a whole, but where's my Revelation? I'm trying to find it. Yeah, there it is.
There it is. Do you have one, Jacob?
I have a Revelation, yeah.
Pop him
Yeah,
up.
that one right there is about as far custom as I want to go. But this is a Nitro V Revelation. This is my personal one. It's got my name on the bottom, and it's just got fat carbon snakeskin gold over green G10 liners. It's not super custom, but I mean it is. Like I said, I'm used to this kind of custom, and because factories can do this, plants and manufacturers can do this, and that they can't just manufacture things that are
Right.
you can't
Yeah.
manufacture things like that. So
No, I
that's
didn't mean
where-
like
but
what I meant by custom. I meant if somebody came in and said, Jacob, I want a specific knife that I need to work with. Let's just say I want a bushcrafting knife. I want you to make me a really good bushcrafting knife, maybe a Nesmith style or something like that. Like things like that. Like if somebody made requests, I'm just answering some things I saw in the chat. Like how would you approach things like that?
I generally tell people if you want custom, I'll do custom on a blade that I'm already doing.
Right.
And the reason for that is people can get really picky.
Right.
And
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's a whole thing with the custom side that I just don't like getting into. And that's another reason why I like doing simple stuff. But for the most part, I have a couple of things going like this. I make them pretty much weekly. I'm always doing something custom. Right now I have a splicer in that he wants snakeskin copper, fat carbon snakeskin copper with green liners, kind of like this one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be a knife that this guy's going to use on the job every day, and they don't mind. I make it affordable enough for them that it's an option.
Yeah.
Because in truth, things like that, like I say, it's not custom enough that I should be charging a whole bunch for. But
Right.
it is enough that I definitely upcharge for it. It takes a lot more time to do liners and making special little changes to things. But as far as super custom and making special blade shapes, then we're just getting into a designing factor at that point. And every now and then I'll change one up for somebody, but for the most part, I got a pretty big variety of blades. And if, I prefer if you stay with my blade, tell me what you want on the handle, and I'll do it that way. We'll go from there.
How many different designs do you offer?
It's increasing right now, but it is 21 or 22 right now. I think.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. On the first year, I wanted to cast a big net, so I just started hammering out different stuff, and that's the best thing you can do when you're trying to expose a brand.
Yeah.
Is just to cast a big net. One or two or three different styles isn't going to capture all these people, even if they're not wanting to buy it. It didn't catch their eye. They need something different. So I just start throwing all kinds of different stuff out there until everyone's looking. And at that point, if this model didn't work, don't care. I didn't spend a whole bunch of time on it. I made it. It is what it is. Here's the pictures of it. I can make another one, but I will not do a run of them because they won't sell.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I do runs of the most popular stuff.
Okay.
Sweet. Man, listen, thank you for being on, dude. It's good to meet you. For everybody in the chat, I got off work late per usual, and I literally zipped in, waved at Jacob, and we went live. So this is like really the first time we've chatted. Man, it's good to meet you.
It's good to meet you too. It's good to meet you guys. I appreciate you having me on.
And you're welcome any damn time, man. We say this a lot because we mean it a lot. If you got some stuff you want to drop or you got some announcements, let us know. You got something in particular you want to show?
Yep, I've got some announcements.
Let's do that.
So the first one is this Friday. I'll be dropping a run of Adventure Juniors. This is the first run of Adventure Juniors of the Generation 2. The Generation 2 has got new logo, and they also show now that I've got a laser engraver, I can do this kind of thing. But it says
that's a
Adventure
handsome
Junior
looking knife.
ACRV2.
Really is nice.
That's clean, man.
Yeah,
It's
handsome
really nice. A great knife.
Yeah.
Gabe just got one of these in Nitro V, and he really likes it. It's a good one. This is the full size Adventure,
Okay.
and
Cool.
the only difference is, I mean, aside from this one being slimmed down just slightly, the blade stock. The Adventure Junior is 1/8 inch, and the Adventure is 3/16. So, but I'll be dropping these on Friday on the website, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then on October 11th, I'll be dropping the Hawk this is designed by Gabe. So this is Gabe's second design that I'll be doing. The Huntsman was absolutely a smashing success, and everybody loves it so far. But he wanted to do this was something that he's had in the works probably even longer than the Huntsman, maybe. But he wanted to do an EDC Sachs Warncliffe style knife. So that's where we're at here. This one is the etch is not great, but it'll be a good tester. It's a pretty nice looking knife.
Man, I love that style.
Yeah, I like
5/32 stock, but it's got a big full flat grind.
Oh, yeah.
About
Mm-hmm.
18, 20 thousandths behind the edge.
Nice.
It's about 7 3/4 inches overall. Nice little Kydex taco sheath. Yep. And October 11th, we'll be dropping these. And 5% of every one of these knives that sells goes to Gabe. Just like Huntsman.
Very cool.
Cool. Pre-orders or just upon the drop?
Nope, no pre-orders. I kind of I was doing some pre-orders last year, and pre-order the hardest knife to make is one that's already paid for. And
yeah. I know. I could see that.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
You know what? When somebody pays for something, it is priority right now.
Yeah.
That's why I just don't take payments on any orders that people contact me with. I just tell them, look, it's not a big deal for me to make it. If you just ghost me in 2 weeks, then I don't care. I'll post it on the website and it'll be gone anyway. But you know, I don't want to take people's money until it's done, until I got something to show for it. I think that whole Survive thing was just but anyhow, that kind of just, I was like, I'm gonna skip the pre-orders from now until, you know, a good long time.
I think right now you're wise to do that. It gets people comfortable, and I really feel like you would know a couple of phone conversations. You know who's full of shit and who's going to get it. Yep. You know, you probably tell. Yep. I mean, we all get fooled, but I think that's wise. Yep. I'm loving what I'm seeing, man. 40 Hawks.
40?
Correct, Gabe. That's correct. 40 of them. I'll be 30 in ADCRV2 and 10 in Nitro V.
And that's October 11th.
October 11th, Friday, October 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Yep.
And then you have a drop this Friday.
This Friday. Yep.
Cool.
I forget what the date is, but
we'll do some stuff to support that for sure.
Thank
8
you.
p.m.
Thank you. I appreciate it. 8 p.m. Eastern. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you could just text that to us or get us a message so we have it in the phone.
I'll do that.
And,
I'll shoot
and we'll try to make an announcement or something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, take it away.
This was great because I noticed there was some people in the chat, and thank you everyone who joined us. Thanks for the conversations you were having and all that. Really appreciate you guys always joining us on Blade Talk. And a lot of people had said, and it's funny because it goes back to the name, and somebody had said, you know, I almost bypassed it because I saw the name, and this is great exposure because now I can see basically what's behind the company. So it's always good to do these things, so this way you can get that exposure out there and people know who you are, and we're glad to do it. And like Scab said, if you have anything coming up, just send us a message, Joe. Scab, you know, I got something cool coming up. You know, can I show this knife, you know, for an upcoming drop or blah, blah, blah. And then we'll try our best to get you on and get it going, you know. So that's what we're here for.
I'm down anytime.
Yeah. And also the future. where do you see yourself going with this? Do you think you're going to be opening up a bigger shop if you get big? Because you are going to
Yeah,
get, listen, you
definitely.
are going to get busier because it looks like your stuff is nice.
Yep.
I like the fit and finish. It works. I like your whole outlook of knife making, your history and all that. And you are going to get bigger and you are going to get busier. So I know the missus had said something about another shop opening up, possibly.
Yeah, we're gonna be looking for a new shop here real soon.
Okay.
And I'm definitely gonna be expanding it. That's my
Good.
goal.
Good.
I don't want to continue doing everything by hand for the rest of my life because in truth I
Mhm.
just can't.
Yeah.
And I can't really train anybody else to do what I've done in 14 years in like
Yeah.
3 months. So for me right now, my biggest thing is trying to reduce the super high skill processes down to just a few things where I can when it comes time I can sub out some help with somebody or I can hire and help and just not have to worry about the quality control as much because I took the the skill needed factor out of it and machine made doesn't bother me. My biggest thing is I want to do everything in house. I would
Yep.
really like to be one of the first bigger companies that does their own heat treating. And I know that's a whole big
Okay.
ginormous thing, but I want to do it. I want to do it. And everything in house is important to me.
Well, I for one, Scab and I for two, I guess we're pulling for you. I like what I heard doing this live, and we're really, wishing you the best of luck.
Thank
I'm
you.
hoping you grow and everything, you get your machines and things get easier for you and get more lucrative. Because listen, you got to make a little money too.
Absolutely.
You got to
Yep.
support the fam. I mean,
Yep.
it is what it is. I mean, it's your line of work, and I wish you well, and I wish you a lucrative business, and keep on doing what you're doing, and you're gonna be fine, my man.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're gonna be
Yeah,
fine.
money is there to be made with thin margins. Just got to have more knives. That's the
Yep,
problem.
absolutely.
No
And we're
problem.
here for you along the way, my friend. We're here for you along the way.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Just to name a few people in the room, Todd Carr, JR was in the room. JR, I don't know if you left. Thanks for coming in. Dwayne Letterman, Short Shot. Gabe is in the room, obviously, Marco. A lot of people came and went, and a lot of people still here. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Since we do have a lot of people here, Skip, do you want to announce anything coming up? All right, we'll do that later. All right, we'll do that later. But we do have Blade Talk next week with Patrick Shipley from Cat Siberia. And I'm always a pleasure to have Patrick on. And I'll try to get some of my sword people into the room. And we'll start talking about some swords. And they got knives too, but a lot of swords. So we'll start talking about some swords with the next upcoming Blade Talk. But thanks, Jack. Thank you, Jacob, for joining us. Scab, as always, have a great evening, everyone. We'll see you on the next Blade Talk. And always a pleasure to see everyone joining us on our Blade Talk sessions. Have a good evening, everyone. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Here's the awkward pause when we wait for it to go out. I always do this.